You're listening to The Fight Game with Tim McKain, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing bare knuckle fighter Sonya Dreiling. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, Form 1 as a professional boxer, you decided to transition to bare knuckle fighting champions. What led to the decision to transition from boxing to bare knuckle boxing?
Well, it's something I was always interested in doing. Just didn't really have the opportunity to do it. There was only a few. I know Wyoming was the first state to approve it, and I was living in Colorado at the time when they did approve it and they had a fight going on. But again, finding females in that bracket that are willing to do bare knuckle just wasn't happening. So it was a real difficult milestone for us to reach when I had finally got the offer. When Jules finally contacted me and was like, hey, we can find girls, we can open these brackets, we can, open up these doors for these women. Do you want to be part of this? I said, heck yes, I wouldn't miss this for the world. So when I got the opportunity, of course, it was like, wow. It's always been something that, I've always had a passion for, just never really had the opportunity to do.
Got you. So what led you to the sport of boxing in the beginning?
Well, it's something that I grew up with. I started when I was 8 years old. My hometown of Greeley, Colorado. It's a very Hispanic cultured town. And that is probably the biggest sport you will find there. So my dad did it. Everybody I grew up with, that was the thing to do. But I was a very ornery little girl. And so that was something that I had decided I wanted to do. I had done football, flag football. I had, cheerleading, you name it. And it was like, no, boxing was my love for, any sport was boxing. Wow. And so it was the thing to do in my hometown. And it was something I fell in love with. And so that's just kind of stuck with it ever since.
I got you. And so were there any influences? You talked about your family did it. So who were some of the major influences for your beginning of boxing, and were there any like major athletes, male or female, that inspired you as a young woman growing up?
Yes. So my dad actually was probably my biggest fan and my biggest supporter throughout boxing. He passed away when I was 16. So, being able to experience that with him and to, have the joy of all the victories and all the travel and all the stuff that you get to do as an amateur, nationals, ringside world titles. And, it was an amazing experience to have with my dad. So it's something I wouldn't trade for the world. So that was kind of my big drive with it too. It was a bonding point for me and him. As far as inspirational fighters, Ann Wolf, anyone asks me, how do you feel about, like Layla Ali and, stuff like that. And I'm like, no, hands down, my biggest hero is Ann Wolf. I love her fighting style. She's ruthless. She's a mom. She's everything. She's like you don't see a lot of fighters out there. They'll call out a lot of, high profile names there, but you don't see anyone calling out Ann Wolf, so that's, and it's funny because you'll see that, a lot of these up and coming, female fighters that are top ranked fighters, they'll call, like I said, Ali out and stuff, but they ain't calling Ann Wolf. So, you can tell she's top notch right there. So that's one of my biggest inspirations. Julio Cesar, hands down, amazing fighter. Mike Tyson, I loved watching Tyson's fights because he's just a beast. Those are probably my top right there of just kind of, who inspired me as a kid. And then I got more into it and started watching a lot of other fighters and seeing different styles. Was it Lomachenko? love his footwork, stuff like that. So you just pick certain things from fighters once you're in depth and involved, and you're just, so aware of, how there's a difference between amateurs and professionals. And, then you start seeing the different styles, different techniques, everything that they do is just completely different, and it's cool to pick up certain styles from them, practice certain things. I watched a fighter this last weekend. I thought it was hands down the coolest thing because he did the Canelo where he kind of turns his head as he's hitting. So, you just start spotting this stuff and you see what fighters watch what fighters, because they train off of it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say those are my top fighters.
Absolutely. So I was doing some research on you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe one of the sources that I found, it said that you won 24 amateur national championships.
Yes. So growing up, my first fight was actually at the Junior Olympic, the State Junior Olympics that we had at our State Junior Olympics? No, it's the National Junior Olympics we had in our state. Coach, I was 8 years old, and he told me to go stand in line. Didn't realize I was actually weighing in and strapping in for a fight. So, I've been doing it since before we had a female Olympic team. We've done silver gloves, golden gloves, nationals, JOs, gone to Brownsville, Texas, Florida, came out of nowhere and stole the 2015 national female golden gloves. They just were like, who is she? Where does she come from? Because I hadn't competed in a while. Nobody kind of knew me. I kind of faded out a little bit and went straight down to Florida from winning state and took nationals. And so I stayed in amateurs for far too long.
You were like Vasily Lomachenko?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing, dude. So is it one of the reasons why you stayed an amateur for so long, just because of the great memories and experience that you've had as an amateur?
Yeah. I kind of had, you always have that dream of, you want to go to the Olympics, you want to, and growing up, we didn't have that opportunity. We didn't have a female team when I was, a teenager, and, we didn't get the female team until I was about 20 or 22 years old. But at that time I was having my kids. So I wasn't competing like that. So I didn't get that opportunity. And then when I had decided that, hey, I'm going to try out that was my last match that I had done in amateurs, was I decided, you know what, we're going to go one more time. We're going to try for the Olympic team. We get it. We don't, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I did not get it. So after that, I kind of sat back a little bit, did some training, worked with my community a little bit, worked with the center that I actually grew up with, which was the Rodarte Center that it's based in my hometown. It's kind of where all the kids go for boxing. When you grow in a low-income area, that's exactly what that is. It was built for the kids that, their parents work all the time. There's nowhere to go at the end of the day, keeps them out of trouble. It's an amazing center. So I started doing some work with them, and, some of the coaches that I worked with, they were like, hey, you should try doing what they call pro-am fights. So I was like, oh, yeah, we'll look into it, Well, then one of the coaches I was working with actually got me a pro-am fight in Denver last minute. It was a heavyweight fight, of course. They called us. They said, hey, can you fight this weekend? It was a charity fight and so on and so forth. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, And they were like, well, you have to come in at least 100, or was it 191 or more? So we're drinking water the whole ride, and the girl came in at 100, or was it 246 pounds is what she came in at. I barely made the 191 marker. Stopped her in the first round. We went back to our corners and they threw the towel. So that was my first pro-am. Did a second pro-am in my hometown. Stopped it. And I think it was like 22 seconds. I just went out there and just killed it. After that, kind of sat back a little bit. Everyone's like, well, why don't you just go pro? Why don't you just do it? So then finally, when I moved out here to Alabama, I had that opportunity. one of the guys that I had grew up with that went to the Rodarte Center, he has his own promotion company, the Double R Boxing out in Nebraska, and he wound up putting me on for my first debut fight. So Ruben was an amazing help. His name's Ruben Rodriguez. So amazing help in getting me started on being a pro, and just kind of took off from there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what are some of the differences that you've changed throughout the process of being an amateur to becoming a professional, whether it be training, dietary needs, and etc.?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was a complete difference, night and day. So you go from learning what they call points, your points, your style, your fighting, and everything like that. And amateurs is completely different than what you're going for in pros. You're looking for knockouts in pros. You're looking at, how am I going to take down my opponent? What can I, I'm taking them down from the inside out. I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to do this. There's a completely different fighting style. And I'm learning every day still. I'm not, I'm not going to be honest and say, I know it all. No, there's things that you're going to learn throughout the game, but, yeah, that was a huge one, was learning the different styles, different mentalities when you're in that ring, because they're coming at you the same way. Diet-wise, huge difference. Growing up, kind of ate whatever you wanted kind of thing. Yeah, I don't do that no more. Kind of switched my whole diet up. I do a lot of, I'm pretty good, a lot of proteins, lots and lots of vegetables. Just kind of keep it real well balanced there. Not too high of carbs, but enough where you keep your energies up, I don't do sodas. I don't do juice, things like that. Strictly waters. So it's kind of a strict diet, yes. But overall, you'll see the benefits of it in the gym. Lifestyle wise, everything's completely different. You're looking for time to hit the gym between, everything else that, goes on in life, from work to kids to you name it, but still maintaining that, fighter mentality of, I got to hit the gym. I got to wake up early. There's no sleeping in until, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, No, it's, when that alarm clock goes off at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're going to go hit the road. We're going to go, work out. We're going to come back, take a shower. We're going to go straight to work, so it's a completely different style of it, but yeah, I've enjoyed it all though.
I got you. It's one of the reasons why, because one of the things you talked about was the difference between amateurism and professionalism was the points. You were saying that amateurism is more based on points, whereas as a professional, you're more focused on the KO. Is that because the judging isn't as what are your thoughts on when it comes to the judging, and when fighters always say never leave it up to the judge's hands because situations might occur? That's why fighters want to go for the knockout. Is that what you learned in boxing? Oh yeah, most definitely.
There's, like I said, there's a huge difference in points. In amateurs, they can look back at the cards, recount the punches, so on and so forth. In pros, if you leave it up to the judges, if you're the B fighter, there's an A and a B fighter. One's getting paid, one's not, If you're that B fighter, guaranteed if you're that close of a fight, they're going to give you either the loss or they're going to give you a draw. They're not just going to hand you a fight,
Absolutely.
They're if it's that close and there's monies involved, it's a completely different ball game, So, not only that, everybody likes seeing that KO on the box rack, that's always a bonus on there, but, yeah, it's the mentality of it. You just, not only that, in amateurs, you're wearing headgear, things like that. When you're in pros and you're seeing that head hit back, and you can tell in your opponent's face that you rocked them pretty good, and you're going in at it. If you can get that KO, go for it.
Yes.
That's what everyone's there to see in the first place. Everybody wants, it's great to see a long fight go on, especially if you're staying busy, but nobody wants to sit there and watch a fight where you're, just dancing with each other and not staying busy, collecting points. You got to cater to your fans as well, and a lot of the fans, that's what they want to see. They want to see you stay busy. If you can go, 12 rounds and stay busy, great. You can put on a really good show. But if you know that your opponent's going to gas out on the 6th round, and you have an opportunity to knock them out sooner, why are you going to drag your fans through that? Just give them the KO. They want to see it, go for it.
Absolutely. And you know what? You have that same style. When you talked about how like you grew up watching Mike Tyson, he was one of those fighters. You definitely have a style that's very physical, very ferocious. Where did that style come from? Was it something that your community brought you up on and taught you to be? Like what created you? What led you to have that aggressive style?
Well, the community played a lot into it, yes. But, we were taught a lot of discipline growing up, as far as, you're not supposed to fight out in the streets. You're not supposed to. I had an amazing coach growing up, Jeff Rodriguez, really cool guy. But he always taught us, hey, if you have a dispute with somebody, bring them to the gym. It was like it's pretty frowned upon to fight out in the street. It's really, you don't do that. But there's cases where, some stuff happens and it's going to happen the way it was. But a lot of it is, it's built inside of the person. And you'll see it in a lot of fighters when they step in that gym, when you're watching them spar and stuff. Either you got a fire inside that's going to say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to quit. Or you got the ones that, the moment they're put under pressure, they give, and that's me. I'm definitely not that kind of person. So I was built with it. I grew up tough. My dad owned a junkyard. So, I was just tough, was a tomboy growing up. So it was something that was born in me, I'm assuming, because it just came as it was. I've always been that way. My siblings aren't that way at all. So, I'm complete opposite of any of them. So it's funny to see that, how different someone can actually be. But, I'd say that it's just something that you're born with. It's something that, like me, I always, it's funny when I talk to some people, it's like, because they ask me like, that same question, and it's, when I'm in that ring and I'm fighting in an actual fight, there's this point in your head that's going to tell you either you're going to give, or, you have so much pride and so much drive in you that you would rather die or be knocked out in that ring than to give that fight up. And that's kind of where my mentality is. It's like, you're going to have to knock me out, or I'm going to have to die in here before I give up, So it's having that drive. And I think it's something you're born with. You got to have it, or you don't.
See, that's interesting. See, so now you brought up something that just, now I'm curious about your perspective on this. Deontay Wilder, he faced Tyson Fury in the second fight, and Tyson Fury was giving him that work. And Mark Dreiling, his trainer, threw in the towel. Now, Deontay Wilder believed that he wanted to go out on his shield. Do you believe that it's what is your thoughts on trainers throwing in the towel when they're trying to protect the fighter, but fighters are also built to go out on their shield?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it comes down to your relationship with your coach. And I know with anyone I've ever had work my corner, they've always known, hey, I'm not gonna let you throw this towel in, but they will always give me the, are you good? Can you keep going? How do you feel? And if I'm good, I'm good, and I've never said I'm not. So I've not reached that point yet. But I think that's between the relationship you and your coach. But on the other hand, there's a point where if your opponent is way outweighing you, there's no way you're on a completely different level than them, that they've just for some reason went in there Superman on you, then I think you'd have enough mentality to say, okay, you know what, I wasn't ready for this. But I think you should know that before you get in there too, because every fighter, they don't just, you do your research, you know who you're going to fight. And you know what they've been capable of, and you know what you're capable of. So you don't go in there taking a fight with somebody that you're not capable of taking on, So I think that comes down to that factor as well. Is, there's a lot of little factors that come into play, but that's an aspect of it that needs to be looked at as too. Is, are you going to take a fight that you know that you can't win, That's a tough one in itself, but.
Interesting. I've never heard a fighter actually admit that they actually, will look at a fight, and there's fighters that will actually look at a fight and say, oh, he or she is better than me, so I won't fight them. I know that stuff happens, but for someone to actually say that, that's pretty dope. So do you think from that, I guess, so basically what you're saying is that fighters, they know what's up. They know that there's other fighters that are better than them, not just based on actually sparring them, but based off highlights, based on tape.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Wow. There's that's without a doubt, because you can sit there and say you're a fighter and that you box and you can even do MMA, whatever you want to call yourself. But at the end of the day, when you get called out and say, hey, would you fight Canelo? And it's like, I've just watched you hit the bag for 3 minutes and you're winded, but you're going to tell me you're the greatest. I don't think so, but they won't admit that, oh, yeah, I can take on Canelo. No, they won't admit that, that they can't. It's a mentality thing too,
Wow, that's what's up. So as a professional boxer, you formed one, but in 2020, in the year of the pandemic, you fought 3 times. What are some of your experiences when it comes to that year of one, getting fights, training for fights, and also the fan attendance or lack thereof because of the pandemic?
I knew it was going to be tough. Down here in Alabama, I actually had an amazing crew that was putting on fights. They were starting out. A production company down here that, they were starting out. She was starting out. She's the very first female promoter in the state of Alabama. So, props up to Brandy on that one. So she, starting out where you were trying to get fights, training wise. I was very lucky. I've got 2 amazing gyms down here that work with me on all hours of the day. Not only that, we've got gyms here that are 24-hour gyms. So, I was able to get the work in. That's no problem. And then just trying to find opponents that were ready, that was a problem. So we did the first one. We found, she was a tough one. She had a good record. Kayla Williams, she came in. I was expecting this is going to be a banger. This, I already knew her style. I was ready for it, and unfortunately I stopped her. I think it was like 42 seconds or no, minute and 21 seconds, I think is what it came into. In the first round, dropped her, got a KO on her. And so I was pretty excited about that one. Second one was Tasha Burton I got. That was a good one. We banged that one out pretty good. And Tasha at the time, the only way we found her was because at the time she had a suspended status. And then, she got that taken care of, whatever, it took to get that done. But she was willing to fight me. She got in there. She did her thing. We both, walked out. She was amazing for taking the fight with me. I was excited for it because she's got a hell of a good record. And that was a great opportunity for me to see that kind of style she had, because each fighter has their own styles, so you get to learn different things from them, especially the women's bracket, because these girls come from all over the place, yes. So you get to get that experience. And then the third one that I took, kind of took it a little bit last minute. So I didn't really get too much time to train for it, but I wanted to get that third fight in. It was a great opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity to work with DeBella's production company. So I was very excited about that. Got to meet Logan Hollers. She was amazing. So it was a good learning experience. It was my first 6-rounder. So I took a lot from it. I learned a lot from it. Kind of knew where I needed to be and where I was. Also pushed myself that little bit distance. And when I pushed myself, I didn't feel that I was at a disadvantage or anything, because they told me, the exact words were, you're going to hit a wall in there on one of these rounds, where either you're going to feel like you can't keep going or you can. because this is your first 6-rounder. And when I got there, I knew I hit that wall in the 4th round. And I was like, you know what? I feel good still, though. And we kept it going. We went all 6. It was an amazing fight. It was a tough fight. I loved it. So yeah, it was interesting trying to find these fighters to get to, to be able to fight. But in some cases, you got to move different weights for it too. So I've been bumping from, I think I took my debut fight at 154 pounds, and I fought all the way up to, I think the heaviest I did was at 175. Well, me and Tasha were agreed at 175. She weighed in at 186, and I was at 172. And we still took the fight because I was like, nah, we all here to fight. It's on. So, you're in the pandemic, in boxing in general, in the women's division, there's got to be a lot of flexibility on your half, as far as making weight, how soon you can fight. Are you ready to fight? The biggest thing that I've always been told, and I've always made sure I was stay ready, because you don't know when you're going to get that call.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yep. Stay ready.
I love it. So how do you mentally analyze your victories and your losses?
Victories are always great. Of course, that puts you on cloud 9. You feel great. You're amazing. You feel invincible, kind of thing. But as far as a loss, I wouldn't consider it an entire loss or a wash. It's something that you learn. You're going to learn defeat, but you have to learn that it's a learning lesson as well. You got to take your mistakes from it, and you got to build off that. You made a mistake here, let's fix it, because that's the only way you're going to get better at it. You're not going to get better at it by, feeling sorry for yourself, not going back to it. You're going to have to conquer that fear of, I lost, but, there's more to it. It's not really a loss. Like I said, it's a learning experience is what it really is. And you got to take that and move on from it.
It's a lesson. I love it. That's the same thing. I work at a Trifecta Fight Night, and we have these, these amateur events. And that's what they tell some of these young fighters. Some of these young fighters, they don't have any boxing experience. Some of them do. But the main thing that they say is that these aren't losses. These are lessons that you can use to help you in your boxing career. So I love it. Definitely. So when it comes to media representation, and you talked about Ann Wolfe. Ann Wolfe is arguably the greatest female boxer of all time. She probably is the greatest boxer outside of Clarissa Shields, but that's debatable. It's debatable. But what do you think about sports media's representation of women's sports and also the women fight game? Because I feel like it's treated differently in the fight game than overall. But what is your take on it as an athlete looking at the sports media and how they represent women's sports?
The biggest thing that I guess is I'm a pretty wholesome person. I have morals and I have self-respect for myself, but I understand the whole aspect of sex sells, so when you see these female athletes out there doing a naked Sports Illustrated and stuff, because why? You're going to get some money off of it and they want to see that? Like that in itself, that it's kind of really discouraging to me because that's usually what it comes down to too is, how can you present yourself in a way that people want to see you? Well, that's kind of how media puts it out there is, they want to see these girls and, the sports bras and the, bikini swimsuit stuff. And it's like, no, that has nothing to do with my sport. So I think they misrepresent us a lot as far as the fights go, because a lot of us aren't that way, but to make it in the field or to be big like a lot of these other females, they've sold themselves to media. And I think that's a big turnoff to me on the whole thing. Cause I'm sorry if someone comes to me and says, hey, we want to do this photo shoot with you. It's going to make this much money, but I need you to, forget your self-respect, forget your morals, forget everything, we want you to take your clothes off and do that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. That's not me. So, you know, I think media puts us out there wrong. Not to mention, like, you know, you'll see some fights where the girl's got a bloody face and they make it out to, you know, like she just got the crap beat out of her kind of thing, you know, and so on and so forth. But they don't look at the side of, you know what, she enjoyed what she was in there doing. That was her sport. That is her hobby. That is her inspiration. That is everything she worked so hard for. You know, that bloody face, there's a lot of joy behind it, you know? Yes. So when they make it out to be a sob story, it's really not, you know? So I think there's a lot of misrepresentation when it comes to media. And it really is. And how
can the media do a better job of representing women's sports in general?
Well, there's a lot of factors. So I think one of them is, you know, don't go on the whole sex sells, you know, train and go that route with it. No, you know, some of these fighters, they've got families, they do other things outside of work or outside the gym, you know. You know, what do they do, you know, on their spare time? You know, who are they as a person? Start really showing that stuff. Don't take it the other route and, you know, oh, well, she's, you know, on Las Vegas's top set. No, it's not about that. So I think they need to actually look, just like they do with the guys, you know, it's like, wow, you know, look at Pacquiao. Pacquiao's amazing. You know, it shows all the stuff he does for his community and stuff like that. He's a very wholesome man. You know, he's got a lot of integrity. He's an amazing person, you know. So, you know, if they were to represent us females like they do the guys, it'd be a whole different ballgame. You know, when you see a guy and he's up there and he's, you know, got his title belt, or he just got his victory and he's got a bloody nose, or, you know, split lip, whatever, but he's happy about it. You know, you'll read the title on there, you know, it's, you know, so-and-so wins, you know, the third fight of, you know, the night or whatever, you know, and he's excited. They don't say that for the females. They just kind of like, oh my gosh, she got beat up. Look at her bloody nose. You know, it's like, oh my God. So I think they just need to treat us like the guys. There's no difference in it, you know?
I like it. So when I brought up the Ann Wolfe and Clarissa Shield topic, who is the GOAT of boxing and why?
I'm giving it to Ann Wolfe, first off. And like I said before, she's a beast. Hands down, pops up to her. She's an amazing person. You know, she does a lot for her community. She's just, you know, overall, like I said, she's just amazing, okay? I can't say anything bad about her. Her fight style, she's just a beast. You know, she'll take on anyone. You don't see Clarissa getting in a ring with any of the fighters that Ann Wolfe's fought, okay? I'm going to put that right out there right now. Clarissa Shields calls herself the GOAT or whatever. She's not, okay? She picks and chooses her fights because she's got a roster of females that all want to fight her, and she ain't stepping up to any of them. Okay, I'm sorry. You can't sit there and tell me that you don't turn down a fight with Raquel Miller because why? I'm sorry. You don't call yourself the best? Step up to anybody that steps up to you. Okay, don't sit there and pick and choose the fights. And that's exactly what Clarissa's done. Clarissa's an amateur. She hid behind the Olympic Committee and everybody else that was involved, you know, and for her, it was, you know, she was a good one for them to use for female, you know, boxer to win Golden Glove or win the gold medal and so on and so forth. But, you know, she has always picked and chose her fights. Her fighting style in itself, she's not a beast. She's got conditioning. You know, that's all it is she's got good stamina and she's got good conditioning, you know. But where'd she get it from? She went up to Colorado Springs, so she got the high altitude, right? Because we've all done it. I lived in Colorado. I've gone and ran my altitude. I wear my altitude mask down here in Alabama. You know, so we all know the game. She's just gotten really good at knowing the game. So you go get your altitude training, and then you go down to Flint, Michigan, where what is it, 42 miles high? It's not very high. I kid you not. If we looked it up, we'd find out what the altitude is real quick here. It's like, I think it's like 42 or 46. So you go up to this high altitude out here, and then you come down here and you fight these girls. You know, that she knows what she's doing, but she's not the best. She's picking and choosing her fights. Like I said, she's got a roster of girls that want to fight her, and she ain't stepping up to anybody. So I'm sorry, she ain't nothing. She's what I call a cookie cutter fighter, and I'm sorry, she ain't got nothing to show. She really don't. She's never had her own style. She's never really had. She's just not. I'm sorry. Yeah, she may have gotten 2 gold medals, but I'm sorry, that last one, they kind of gave it to her. So.
Well, you know what? That's really interesting. I think the media needs to pay attention to what this roster is saying, because you don't hear those things a lot.
No, you don't.
You really don't.
Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon, the Clarissa Shields bandwagon. It's like, no, I ain't on that. I'm sorry. But call it as it is.
Okay. I think the media. I'm gonna do a little research on that and find some of these fighters. That would certainly be interesting. So my next question to you is, what has boxing taught you about yourself as a woman, and what has boxing taught you about life?
I think as a woman, boxing has taught me that, you can go through some of the toughest stuff in life, but at the end of the day, if it don't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. That saying is applied over and over and over again, because, one day you can be tore down. You could feel just like you've not had any kind of strength or nothing that whole day. And tomorrow's a whole nother day, And when you're in that gym and you're fighting and, the mentality, the whole world disappears, So the only thing you're focusing on is on boxing. So I would say as a woman, it has taught me not only the difference in how people perceive boxing for females, but then how you're supposed to, I guess, represent yourself as well. There's been a lot of, growing up, we were taught a lot of discipline in it. And, as far as, showing a lot of respect. So as a female, boxing has showed me a lot of respect for myself, how to hold myself, how to display who I am as a person. And then as far as how boxing has affected me in my life, it's something I always come back to. So, it's my cornerstone in my life. That's my foundation to everything. That, I could be having the worst day in the world and I'll hit the gym and I feel amazing, So it is my therapy. It's my cure for things. So I think in life, there's a lot of aspects to it, but in general, it's who I am. It's part of my life. It's I don't know how you put that.
Your church. It's your church.
It's my church, and speaking of, I thought it was hands down the greatest thing in the world when I moved down here to Albertville, Alabama, and we have a gym here in Gadsden, Alabama that's called Crossroads Gym. I never would have thought that I could have a pastor for a coach. So mixing that together it was amazing. And, when I first heard about us, no way there's a pastor and he's teaching boxing. You're kidding me, So when I got to meet Blake, it was like, wow, this is amazing. So that just in itself down here doing professional boxing and working with him and everything, it's my church. It's a lifestyle. It's, what represents me. It's who I am, and everybody that, knows me or whatever, they're, oh yeah, she boxes, or, hey, yeah, she's a fighter, so it's who you are. It's what represents you. It's your passion, and people ask, is this your full-time job? No, it's a hobby. It's something I enjoy doing. But yeah, it's a lifestyle. It really is.
That's amazing. What are your personal keys to success, and what advice would you give to a young female boxer or fighter that wants to have a career in this game?
I would say don't ever sell yourself short. Your value of yourself is what counts. Doesn't matter what anyone else tells you. Because everybody's going to blow smoke your way. But at the end of the day, you know what? The value of how you feel and what you feel that you're worth means more than anything else, because at the end of the day, it's you. Boxing is the loneliest sport out there, and you're the only one in that ring. So when you self-discipline yourself and you're able to comprehend that, you know, no matter what you go through, at the end of the day, it's made you 10 times stronger, 10 times smarter, and 10 times better than everybody else. You know, it's worth the struggle. It's worth the pain. You just got to stick it out. You know, don't give up on anything that you really love. Even if it's not boxing, if it's something else, even, you know, don't give up on what you love. You know, it could be someone who wants to play an instrument for the rest of their life. I don't care. Just don't give up on it. If it's something you have a passion for, throw everything you've got into it, you know, heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears, put it all in there. Because at the end of the day, the benefit of it pays off. It really does. Wow.
Well, Sonya, where can the people find you on social media? Do you have any fight updates happening soon?
We got a big announcement coming up, especially for the bare knuckle. So we're kind of just waiting on a contract on that guy. So it'll be an interesting fight if we can pull this one off, especially down here in Birmingham, Alabama for the BKFC. That's a big one. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Just kind of all over. You'll find me on a lot of pages. People post stuff. I'm kind of all over in the community as well. Several gyms, you name it. Kind of gym hopping all the time, so we're always posting pictures. I'll meet girls at certain gyms to help work out, help train. But yeah, we've got some good fight news coming up, hopefully here for April 30th. Been working with Jules and Nate and Paul Taylor and loving it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with things now.
That's amazing. Well, hey, thank you very much, Sonya, for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.